أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Assalamu alaikum jamiyan wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and thank you for being with us to the last day of this course. Subhanallah. We started on the 1st of Ramadan. Today is 29th of Ramadan. There are some places which may have still 30th Ramadan tomorrow, but some places may have Eid tomorrow. So, inshallah, end the course today. Thank you very much for being with us. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for this opportunity. We thank the volunteers, Brother Ali Manji, for helping us to be there every day, open the room, and Sayyid Mehdi for posting the recordings and also slides on our website. May Allah reward them for their help. As usual, let us start with this dua. This is the last time we do. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Allahumma addi anna haqqa ma mada min shahr Ramadan. واغفر لنا تقصيرنا فيه وتسلمه منا مقبولا ولا تؤاخذنا بإسرافنا على أنفسنا واجعلنا من المرحومين ولا تجعلنا من المحرومين وصل على محمد وآله الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. So that was a hadith which had, yesterday we discussed how much Quran we read in the month of Ramadan. This was based on Mafatul Jinan of Sheikh Abbas Qumi. And as he mentioned this passage in Mafatul Jinan, there is Mafati which has been translated recently into English by Sayyid Ali Kuli Karai. He has taken trouble to also then give us references. Where does Qumi receive all this information? So based on that, I also looked at some of the hadiths, and one more hadith which I have found. I'll just share with you and then close the discussion today. This is an Ali bin Abi Hamza. He says that once I went in the presence of Abdullah, that means the sixth Imam, and Abu Basir said to him. So Abu Basir was close to him. He asked this question. No, Ju'ultu fidaka, may I be sacrificed for you. أقرأ القرآن في شهر رمضان في ليلة فقال لا قال في ليلتين فقال لا فقال في ثلاث فقال ها. He said that should I recite the entire Quran in one night, complete the Quran one night? Imam said no. He said, can I do it in 2 nights? Imam said no. He said, can I finish the Quran in 3 nights? Imam said ha, pointing with his hand, meaning yes, you can. Then the Imam said, continue, right? Ya Aba Muhammad, now he's talking to Abu Basir. Ya Muhammad, inna Ramadan haqqan wa hurmatan la yushbihuhu shay'un min ash-shuhur. He says that, oh Muhammad, know that for the month of Ramadan there are respect and rights which are unlike the other months. And then he says, Subhanallah. وَكَانَ أَصْحَابُ مُحَمَّدٍ صلى الله عليه وسلم. And the compare the Prophet, يُقْرَأُ أَحَدُهُمْ الْقُرْآنَ فِي شَهْرٍ أَوْ أَكَلَ. And he says even the Prophet of companions of the Prophet used to complete the entire Quran within 30 days or even less days. No, he says, أَوْ أَكَلَ. إِنَّ الْقُرْآنَ لَا يُقْرَأ hazramatan. He said you cannot read Quran in quick succession, in rush. No. ولكن رتل ترتيلا, but recite Quran with tartil, with no tone, in tone voices, the way it knows. وإذا مررت بآية فيها ذكر الجنة فكيف عندها وصل الله الجنة. If you come across a verse which talks about Jannah, paradise, pause there. Ask Allah that Allah grant me the Jannah. Whenever there's a discussion about Jannah, and it appears often in Quran, that may Allah give us Jannah. وَإِذَا مَرَرْتَ بِآيَةٍ فِيهَا ذِكْرُ النَّارِ. And if you happen to pass by a verse which talks about nar, the hellfire, fakif, again pause at that place. وَتَعَوِّذْ بِاللَّهِ مِنَ النَّارِ. And seek refuge of Allah from the fire. So it's beautiful hadith. You can see this is where, when we said earlier that when Kumi said, for example, here, that we should know, yes, in the Ramadan, as soon as to complete the Quran in 3 days, and it is good to do completely every day, right? So, of course, this last one he has said, this must be another hadith, but no, actually, as far as this hadith is concerned, this is what he said, in 3 days try to. So, no, we are trying to complete one Quran, and if possible, we are supposed to do it, 10 Quran, if possible, but at least one also is good, we are following. Coming to the companions of the Prophet who used to complete the Quran, there is a companion of the Prophet who was also alive in Karbala, and that was Habib ibn Mazahir. Habib ibn Mazahir, we are told that he used to complete Quran often, right? So much so that when he came down from the horse, became Shaheed, right? When Imam Hussein reaches him, even at that time, he remembers that particular quality of Habib, that Habib, you used to recite Quran often and complete it within a few days. So you can imagine even that particular, practice of Habib was liked by Imam Hussein so much that even after he gets down from the horse, facing his last moment, Imam remembers that particular quality of reciting Quran. You can imagine how much was Imam like this. Now, this is the dua. There are no duas which we recite. This is one of the duas. You must find, for example, there are cards which were prepared for this before Ramadan. And this dua actually addresses what Imam says. Allahumma bilhaqi anzaltu bilhaqi nazal. Allahumma azim rabbati fihi waj'alhu nuran li basari wa shifaan li sadri wa zahaban li hammi wa husni Allahumma zayyin bihi lisani wa jammil bihi wajhi wa qawwi bihi jasadi warzuqni haqqa tilawati wa la ta'atika ana layli wa atrafin nahar wa hshurni wa amhamni wa amhamni. So there are a number of du'as. This is one of the du'as, for example, you can recite just to say that how you recite Quran and what is expected of that. Now, we will not get much into it. It's the last class. Now, we'll take any questions of what we have done. But this is the program I would leave with today. I'm thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for this opportunity. I'm thankful to the participants that some of you remain. We had 77, I think 78 people who registered for the course. And just now we have got 24. So you can imagine that it's almost 1/3 who are there, who will remain till the last day. May Allah reward you for your interest, and thank you for being there, because that encourages us, because it's a lot of efforts put. Sometimes I would sleep so late just preparing for the slides, or early in the morning, just getting ready, because the other commitment the day. Plus, I had also speaking commitments in Kitchener. When you could see me, then I was talking. So, alhamdulillah, we completed this thing. Thank you very much for being there. This is what I would live with today. Let us try to follow this thing. There is an ayat of Quran, subhanallah, ayat number 88, Surah Al-Isra 17. Allah says, Kul, لَإِنِ اجْتَمَعَتِ الْإِنسُ وَالْجِنُّ عَلَىٰ أَنْ يَأْتُوا مِثْلِ هَذَا الْقُرْآنِ لَا يَأْتُونَ مِثْلِهِ وَلَوْ كَانَ بَعْضُهُمْ لِبَعْضٍ ظَهِيرًا. A beautiful ayat, a challenge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That should all the humans and jinn get together to bring the like of this Quran, they will not be able to bring it. Like, even if there is a sister, imagine the jinn and the ins. Today, for example, human beings, I don't know how many of you are aware of the Chat GPT. Chat GPT is, what AI based, and intelligence, artificial intelligence, AI based, whereby you ask any question and it will give you the answer. Even, for example, some of the imams of namaz, Jummah prayers, they get their khutbah from ChatGPT. They just say to ChatGPT, please prepare for me a khutbah based on, for example, bidding favor Ramadan, or welcoming Ramadan, or this thing. So ChatGPT will do that. So Allah says that even if, for example, ins and the jinn, they were to get together and help each other to come with this, something like Quran, they will not do that. And there's a story behind this ayat, but we don't have time. Inshallah, sometime I'll do it now. So let us develop uns, a special relation, intimacy with the Quran, right? Let's try to do that. There's a type of issue with the Quran, okay? Reciting, do tilawa of at least 50 verses. Now, reciting, do it at least verse, based on the hadith we discussed already, so I don't want to repeat it. Reading 10 verses with meaning and reflection. Again, there's a hadith which says that a person who recites 10 verses every day he is not among those who are heedless. They are not ghafilin against Quran. People who are ghafla, for example. There are people who don't bother about Quran, not at all. You tell me, you listen to all the lectures, whether Molana says, Alim says, Mujtahid says, Imam says, they're least concerned. So they are ghafilin, they're ghafla. No? But if you recite 10 verses, then you will not be amongst the ghafilin, right? So let us read 10 verses with meaning and reflection, right? Number 3, keeping a day in time in a week to catch up on the above. Because this first 2 is sometimes not easy to be achieved. At least in my own personal life, I'll try. Always something comes up. Always something comes up. 3 things you'll see in life. If 3 things you want to do, there's always be frustration. One is, if you want to say namaz on time, you'll find there are so many forces. Satanic forces will come in the way. So many. Number 2, if you want to recite Quran regularly, you'll find that something will come in the way. Number 3, if you want to, for example, do infaq in the way of Allah, if you want to spend the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there'll be so many other kind of thoughts, and people say, no, how much you will give, why you do it, no, you will need it, what happen if you get old, what happen if your children need it, right? And all those kind of satanic thoughts will come, which will, keep you away from this thing. So that's why number 3 said keeping a day and time in a week to catch up on the above 2. That means if I did, for example, 40 verses, I didn't have time, or for example, one day I missed, right? So in a week, there should be a time kept. You see that, no, I missed out, for example, this day. I didn't do it, or I just did 30 verses or 40 verses. No? Or for example, these 10 verses and 50 verses can be the same, or it can be different. For example, you can read, for example, from the beginning, but you can take 10 verses from the beginning, for example, any surah you want. No? So it's your wish. Number 4, let one person in your social gatherings, alhamdulillah, mashallah, Allah has given us ability, and human being is a social, animal. So we always like to be amongst friends, we invite people, we get invited, all the things, right? So you can continue social gatherings. But let us start a practice that in a social gathering, recite a Quranic passage. Passage can be 3 verses, 4 verses, a surah, a passage, right? With discussion on it based on the opinion of a scholar. This is very important because sometimes people just open the Quran, they start giving their own opinions. There's a hadith of the Prophet which says a person who's going to interpret Quran based on his personal opinion will find a place in Jannah. He's going to reserve a place in Jannah. So these are the words of Allah. As you can see, Allah says it's such a special that the jinn and the ins combined together cannot come up with this thing, right? It's a very special. So based on opinion of the scholar, and we've given you some of the resources here. You can use some of them. Number 5, have a buddy. So that the 2 of you remind each other on how we have dealt with the Quran during the week. So let's say, for example, every Saturday or Sunday or Friday, your friend calls you, your buddy calls you and says that, what did you do? And you say, what I did, right? And just remind each other, inshallah, these 5 points will help for us to have that uns, that intimacy with the Quran. And I also put a note here. Please email me after 3 months once you start practicing. If you find this helpful or challenging, is this doable or not? Then, of course, if it's not doable for any reason, then maybe next time when we meet or when we have such a course, we will reduce the requirement. But this is based on my reading, on my teaching, on my personal practice, on interacting with people who like Quran, that these 5 points I feel are necessary to keep that kind of uns, that kind of intimacy. Uns is a close, anis. Anis is a person of very close friend, a dear friend, right? So let us make Quran as a dear friend by doing these 5 points. If there are any questions, any clarifications, please feel free to ask. You can also unmute yourself and let me see what a question in the chat now. I did that yesterday. Why Quran will not be running? Yesterday, if you just check yesterday's recording, I did that now.
How do I check it? I think I missed it.
Sorry?
Assalamualaikum. I missed yesterday's thing. Can you share that slide?
Yeah, it's there available. It's available on YouTube. You can check it now. I discuss in detail. Even if I answer just now shortly, I want to do justice to that. Why 50 verse? Yes, my personal understanding of 50 verse would be that if you take Quran, for example, there are 6,236 verses, right? Take 50 verses, any 50 verses of the Quran. Try this thing. Take any 50 verses, and the central theme of the Quran, the central message that Allah is the creator and we are the creatures, we are responsible, there is accounting, there is Jannah, there is Jannah. This central theme of the Quran, which is coming again and again, if you read any 50 verses, that may come. This is my personal understanding. And I was told even some scholar more learned than me also had said something, but I could not find it. But try this experiment, that when you get time, open the Quran, take any 50 verses from anywhere. Take the cluster of 50 verses, but issue them together, and see that if the central theme of the Quran is mentioned there or not. This could be the reason. There can be also more, but since the Imam has said, there must be some wisdom in it. When there are so many opinions between scholars, is there a place for scholars? No, don't be worried about that. No, scholars, if there are different opinions, is based on, because this is the beauty, right? Knowledge is nobody's priority. Knowledge is something depending how much you study, what kind of mindset a person has, what kind of influence a person has, what kind of spirituality you have got in the background. So accordingly, people have different kind of what understanding, and they'll always be the case. Even, for example, you take your case to any doctor, you rarely find that the two doctors will give you the same opinion, right? So that is fine. So don't worry about that thing. No? What is important for us is that we try to talk to people and try to zero on, for example, that let's say that you decide that I want to listen to 5 scholars. On our website, here, for example, you're given here, academyislam.com. If you go there, there are all the scholars, all the speakers who are given tafsir sessions. The complete list is there, surah by surah. You go there, right? So you, for example, listen to some of them, and then you can zero on, for example, 5 of them. Okay, you 5 of them you like, for example, these people we feel that they make sense, or they have some good reference, everything, and then you can listen to them. That you can do that, but there is no way that you will have a place whereby all scholars agree the same. That will not happen. Knowledge is, otherwise human being will not be, will be a robot, right? This is the beauty of it. Subhanallah, I'll tell you one thing that I've been learning about Quran since I went to Hausa in 84, and then I've been lecturing about it. Every time I take the ayat, and if I come at it again, I find that Allah opens my mind and with better understanding of something different. So this is it. It's so beautiful. It's not static. Knowledge is dynamic. Which is the best tafsir to read? Of course, depending on your level. The best tafsir today will be Mizan, but it's not easy. So if not Mizan, then I would go, for example, to enlightened commentary of the Quran. If that is still you find, for example, that is high, then you can go to tafsir on Mir Ahmad Ali and Agapuya together. Mir Ahmad and Agapuya, they were very simple tafsir. You can do that. Besides that, individual surahs have been done tafsir by very many scholars. You can find, my whole shelf is filled with those things. So of course, this is it. But Mizan is very good, but I would say that it's not for everybody. It's quite advanced. Even before I went to Hausa, I had difficulty. Even today, sometimes some of the things in Mizan and I read, honestly, I have to read 3 times to be able to comprehend what the scholar is saying. Okay, now coming to the request by one of the sisters here that we will just wait for the input to come. The survey form has gone again this morning, early morning. So please try to respond. Based on that, inshallah, we will have sessions on Fridays, either next Friday, but we will announce. All of you who register for this course will get the first announcement. So tomorrow, of course, is day of Eid or the last day of that. So either 28th of April or inshallah 5th of May, we will start a course for sessions. most probably we'll do a quick review of Dua Nudba, inshallah. We'll do a quick review of Dua Nudba until that time that I'm going to be traveling in mid of June until after 12 days Ramadan. So before that, we'll try to finish it. But we will wait. We'll wait for the survey form, what people have to say. Based on that, we'll start. No, I hope that you will register for that. Yeah, just we need your du'as, inshallah. Keep us on your du'as. This is the last few hours of Ramadan for those who are going to do Eid tomorrow. So please keep us in your du'as. Keep the academy in your du'as so that we can continue serving. So if there are no more questions, then inshallah, wish you Eid Mubarak in advance from now and hope to see you in future courses, inshallah.